We all kind of assume Italians are just the Romans who never left. Same peninsula, same boat on the map, same gladiator DNA. Rome fell, everyone went home, and 2,000 years later, here they are, making pasta on the ruins. But here's the strange part. The Romans didn't have a country called Italy, and the Italy that exists today is younger than the United States. So are modern Italians really the heirs of Rome? The answer is stranger, and honestly, more beautiful than the postcard version. And let's start with that second surprise, because it catches everyone off guard. Italy, the nation, one flag, one government, one country, is barely more than a century and a half old. It was only stitched together in 1861. Before that, for more than 1,000 years after Rome fell, the peninsula wasn't a country at all. It was a patchwork of rival powers. Venice, Florence, Milan, Naples, the lands of the Pope, squabbling with each other, and half the time ruled by outsiders. The Spanish, the French, the Austrians. An Austrian statesman once waved the whole place away with the famous insult. Italy, he said, is just a geographical expression, a spot on the map, not a people. And he had a point, because they couldn't even understand each other. When Italy was finally united in 1861, by some estimates, as few as 1 in 40 people actually spoke Italian. Everyone else spoke their own local language. A man from Sicily and a man from Venice, standing in the same new country, would have needed a translator. So in what sense were these people one nation, never mind the descendants of a single empire? Here is the answer, because underneath all that division ran a thread that never ever broke. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Start with the language they were speaking, all those different local tongues. They weren't random. Every single one of them was Latin. Rome's language, left to grow wild for 1,000 years in 100 different valleys. And Italian, likewise, isn't the cousin of Latin. It is Latin, just Latin that kept talking. The specific version they chose to unite the country, it came from one man, Dante, the poet, who more than 500 years before there was in Italy, sat down and wrote in his everyday Tuscan tongue, and accidentally handed a nation that didn't exist yet its voice. Then there is the city itself. Rome never went dark. Even after the empire collapsed, Rome stayed the beating heart of the Western world, because the church was there, the popes were there, and for over 1,000 more years all roads still quite literally led to Rome. And then the Italians did something no other people did. They dug Rome back up. In the Renaissance, they pulled Roman statues out of the ground, measured Roman buildings, copied Roman columns, memorized Roman poets, and rebuilt their entire civilization on purpose out of the rubble of the old one. They didn't just inherit Rome, they reached back and chose it. And under your feet, it's still there. The roads, the towns, the borders of where people live, the shape of the cities, the law. The map of Italy is still physically the country that Rome laid down 2,000 years ago. So, did Rome actually fall? In a way, it never did. It just dissolved into its own children. The Romans didn't vanish. They slowly turned into the Italians. And not only the Italians, that same Latin, carried down the same centuries, became Spanish and French and Portuguese and Romanian. Rome didn't die. It scattered into a whole family of nations. The Italians just stayed home, in the house Rome built. And that's the beautiful paradox at the center of it all. Italy is one of the youngest countries in Europe, younger than America, younger than a lot of things you'd never guess. but it's built on the oldest foundation in the entire Western world. When they finally raised that flag in 1861, they weren't inventing a nation out of nothing. They were remembering one, putting back together a people that Rome had planted 2,000 years before. The country is young, but the Italians are very, very old.